hope you're having an amazing day. I personally have been buying very heavily over the last month, and I'm really excited to share with you what I've been investing in. I have some cards that I'm really excited about, and I just got one in the mail today, and I wanted to unbox it. So let's take a look. And after I unbox it, I'm going to show you some of the detail in the card, and I'm going to explain why I think this is a card that was worth my time. Now, obviously, none of these, I wouldn't want you to take these as like stock tips or anything super solid. It's just a hunch that I'm playing, and it's the way that I like to invest in my sports cards. So if you have a different approach, please let me know about it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, but I do things a certain way. I like to invest in what I call the sure things. So I am not the kind of guy that's going to go take a chance on some 18-year-old prospect in baseball who's in single A and buying his superfractors and just hoping that, he ends up being the next Shohei. That's just not the way I do things. I do like to collect for fun. Maybe I'll do that with a card from a Red Sox player that I love. But if I'm going to invest big money, I'm going to do it on someone who's already proven themselves to me. So either a dead guy or a guy whose legacy is so secure that there's no risk of the player bottoming out. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, what I mean, as I try to get this open for you guys. Here we go. So I actually got a steal on this card when I bought it a few weeks ago. It's got to go to the eBay Authenticator first, but I got a great price, even though I had to wait. And I was very, look at that. Wow, that's quite a card. Here we go. Here we go. This is the 2012 Select LeBron James base Prizm variation. You might be saying to yourself, wait a minute, Select base Prizm? Select base silver? What's such a big deal about that? Well, I'll tell you that this card is not just any Select, right? This is the first year of Select that Panini made when they first got the NBA license. And this is an extremely short printed set compared to what you think of with the modern day, the last year of Prizm or the current Select or now Topps Chrome Basketball. In fact, in PSA 10, there's only 36 of these. I got this BGS 9.5 for an absolute steal on eBay that I'm very proud of. It was mislisted. In other words, the seller did not have it tagged properly, but I could tell from the photos what it was. And this is a BGS 9.5 gem mint with 3 9.5s. It's a little bit off on the top-bottom centering, but it's still a really gorgeous copy of the card. So why this card? Well, see, here's the thing about LeBron, right? LeBron is a cemented player. Okay, LeBron's cards are always going to hold value. He's, the Jordan of our generation. He's a very special individual, the all-time leading scorer in the NBA. I could go on and on with his accolades. You guys know them as well as I do. 2012, once again, first year of this product. So this is the equivalent of 1996 Kobe Topps Chrome, if you will, for LeBron, right? There had been Kobe cards, but, Topps, well, had there been Kobe cards? I guess there were a couple, but, Topps Chrome Kobe, that first year, iconic set, iconic player. Select, iconic set, iconic player. Short printed, like I told you, right? There are not a lot of these. There's only 30-something PSA 10s, and I know that because right before I got this BGS 9.5, right before I got that BGS 9.5, I decided to make a pretty big investment and get one of the only PSA 10s. Okay? So this is a BGS 9.5 and a PSA 10, both Select. Now, you'll see in the close-up that when we talk about why I invest in the cards I do, I always talk about it from a vintage standpoint because I started off in vintage cards. And one of the biggest terms they use in vintage cards is eye appeal. Okay? In the ultra-modern world, which I don't consider these to be ultra-modern because they're not like a numbered, like cracked ice, wave, teal, dipsy-do, parallel. It's just a very, this is the basic one level up from the base. It's a refractor, for lack of a better term. It's silver Prizm. the reason that I really believe in this is because these have amazing eye appeal. This is a gorgeous card, right? So if you look at this, we have LeBron in his red Heat uniform up against this beautiful, like, gradient sort of red velvety background, and then the refractor all over the card. If you look at his Prizm the same year, Prizm is, I would say, a little bit more bland. It's white uniform on this grayscale background. It doesn't necessarily catch your eye. Now, that being said, that Prizm is a $25,000 card in PSA 10. This is a $3,500 card in PSA 10, and I way overpaid. But my thought being, well, the population counter somewhere, it's not going to come up to the Prizm price. Prizm's a more popular set. I'm not here to debate Prizm versus Select. Prizm is a more popular set, but this is a better looking card. So in my very humble opinion, at some point, eventually, these guys are going to take off on a pretty big meteoric rise, right? So I want them, okay? LeBron, the retirement is going to come at some point. He can't play forever. When he retires, his values are going to shoot up, and this is just a gorgeous set. It's not like modern day Select. It's not, die cuts and all these like lines running through it. It's just a very, it almost looks like a Prizm Deca, if you know that set, and it's just a very good looking card. Also, significant year in the career of LeBron James. This is the only year that he won the Triple Crown. That is the MVP, the Finals MVP, and the NBA championship. Okay, so that 2012 LeBron year is very special. Now, you might be saying, wow, these are pretty pricey cards. Is there any kind of entry point for me into this? And I would say absolutely. If I were you, would look at a PSA 8, okay? These are older cards, I collect a lot of what's called the modern era, okay? Not the ultra modern era, which I'd say would start at about 2015-ish, when Panini got the NFL license, 2014-ish. I collected what's called the modern era, right? And a lot of the times with these cards, like 2012, it doesn't feel like it, but that's 14 years ago, 13, 14 years ago. It's hard to get a 10 for those. But there's PSA 8s rolling around out there in the same card that look fabulous. Those are going to run you $400. Okay. You could also do what I did, and you can take a look at the next year, 2013. That's a 2013 Prizm. It's called Prizm Variation, but it's a silver, right? That's a 2013 Select Prizm Variation. LeBron. This is in his black Heat jersey, against that same kind of like crushed red velvet background with the beautiful refractor. Excellent looking card. So I'm really, really bullish on these. Those first few years, the print runs were small. Sports cards had not come back, right? This was a time where the sports card industry was very static. This was way before the pandemic. You did have your collectors, but this was way before we talked about things like comps, futures, resale value, pristines, like all those kind of like terms that now we use, like the stock market terms. Those were not a big part of sports card collecting, investing, whatever you want to call it. I call it brokering. In 2012 and 2013. So I'm a big fan of these LeBrons, and the reason I'm talking to you about these is not just to pump my own cards, because I'm going to hold these for a while. It's just, what can you do other than just, if you want to go get the Topps Chrome Rookie Refractor in a PSA 10 and you have $50,000, go for it. I don't have that. So you're seeing me in my, I do have a sports card business, but I don't have a sports card empire conglomerate where I can just go and throw out 50,000 on a card on a flyer. So what can I do to make an effective sort of play in the LeBron market that's not going to completely bankrupt me, right? So we have this one, which once again, this was mislabeled on eBay. So I'm really lucky I got this at the price I did. The guy had it labeled as the base, and I was able to, tell from the labeling on the slab that it was a silver. Then we have this, it's PSA 10, which I paid through the nose for. And this one I picked up on Whatnot. This was under $100 for PSA 9 2013 Select, which was another championship year for the Heat. So, these are purchases that you can make without, super extending yourself, especially these two on the outside. This card comps right now at about $1,800. And this guy, once again, he's about a $100 card. I got him for, I think, $90. Right? Nothing crazy, but it does let you get sort of these unique LeBron pieces, much more so than, what everyone's chasing right now, which I'm not a big chaser. So I'm not going to buy, for example, LeBron Downtown, a LeBron Kaboom, a LeBron Stained Glass, especially those non-numbered ones. I'd much rather just have something that's more timeless and more iconic, where the way I imagine is I don't have to explain to my kids in 50 years what a downtown is, right? It's going to be complicated to explain. It's like all the artwork, the laser things across it. It's a beautiful card. It's just not my cup of tea. I'm much more a classic collector, so I look at this is the LeBron card of 2012, right? This is the Prizm. And it's much easier to explain that. All right, well, after I started doing that and buying these 2012 selects, I started thinking about, I really like this set. Who else is out there in this set that might be worth grabbing? So what I did is I grabbed 2 additional pieces for that set. Both PSA 10s, Kobe. I was a big Kobe guy growing up. I was a Celtics fan, so I got to see a lot of them, unfortunately. And, he was a special player, obviously, but then when he passed, his cards took on a whole new meaning. And I got 2 PSA 10, the same as this one, Select with the Prizm Variations 2012 Kobe. Once again, just a gorgeous card. Eye appeal. That's so much of what I do in sports cards is eye appeal. Does it look good? Is this something I'd want to put up on a shelf? I don't want to just have this sitting in my binder. Is this something that if I had it on a table at my card show, would people, would they be drawn to it, right? Select Silver Kobe first year, massive card, right? Purple background, nice portraiture of Kobe, looks excellent, great refractor on it. And so, I'm heavily into these as well. I paid an average of $2,200 for the pair. So you call it like a $4,400 investment, which might sound like a lot. And it is a lot, it's a lot for me, but that's a safe investment, right? These cards are either going to go up dramatically or they're going to kind of hover around where they're at. So I'm not ultra concerned with taking a big loss. Kobe's timeless. He's one of the players of that 90s era that will remain, collectible, I think, forever, right? People are still collecting Hank Aaron and Mickey Mantle. I think people are still going to collect Kobe and LeBron way, way, way into the future. So it's not something that I was nervous about when I made the investment. For me, it's more just when are people going to catch up on Select? That's the only question that I was asking, and that I'm still asking, right? This Prizm Silver for Kobe goes for thousands and thousands of dollars. Way, way, way more of a multiplier than the Select, right? I'm banking, this is my bet that I made, I'm banking that the Kobe Select is going to eventually not reach the Prizm level. Once again, it's never going to touch Prizm, but it's going to have a pretty good multiplier when people realize how low pop these are. I have 2 of the 50. Okay, there's only 48 besides the 2 that I have in PSA 10. Right, and I will buy more if I can. So this is just kind of a little bit of a conversation about what I think the market's going to do. Sports cards are just scorching hot right now. I think that the market is primed for buying, even though the prices are going way up. I just wouldn't get suckered into buying what everyone else is buying. That's my big thing, and you'll hear about that on this channel all the time, right? What can you buy that's going to sort of forge its own path, where people are going to look at you in 5 years and say, oh, you have these, man, what will it take for me to get this out of you, right? For example, this PSA 10 LeBron, there's only one of these on sale right now on eBay, and it's $8,000, which is, it's not going to go for that, right? But in 5 years, could someone say, there's none on sale, everyone's just holding them, what will it take for me to get this from you? Absolutely. With a card like a Wembanyama Prizm Silver, which is, one of the most transacted cards in the world, right? I don't think there's ever going to be a time where people are going to look at you and be just desperate to grab that, right? They can go to the next guy, they can go on eBay, they can go on Fanatics, and they can grab one. Stuff like this, though, especially stuff in PSA 10, it's just not around. It's just not available, right? So if someone wants it, they're going to have to, most likely pay over comp if they really want it. So that's kind of like my conversation today. This is what I've been buying lately. I have a few more cards that I'll bring out in a future episode that I've been really into lately. But just remember, like, the overall lesson for today. It's eye appeal. It's getting something with a low pop count, and it's iconic players, right? There's other players in this set that I might go after. There's a Curry that I really like. I might go after Durant. But, if you're going to start with something, go for the guys that are the blue chip guys, right? I made that mistake so much as a collector. You never make mistakes as a collector, but I made those mistakes a bunch when I first started going into the business of just figuring that everyone would want to buy every player, right? So I was buying Bryce Young cards. I was buying, Giannis cards and Jaylen Brown. And, I had a big Scotty Barnes phase. I had a big Tyrese Maxey phase. Those guys are all excellent, but it doesn't mean that their cards are going to go flying off the shelves, right? You have to get something for players who are super collectible, iconic, and also you have to find the cards that have the eye appeal and that are a little bit under the radar. So that's why I'm showing you this nice little set that I'm starting to build of these early year select. Once again, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you so much. I can't wait to show you more, and I hope you have an awesome day.